We use everyday items without a second thought, but some hide bizarre secrets. From strange origins to unexpected uses, here are 5 everyday items with bizarre facts you won't believe. 5. The evolution of the toothbrush. Here's a fascinating little tidbit for you. Before nylon bristles took over, toothbrushes were made with animal hairs, specifically boar hair. It wasn't until 1938 that things took a turn for the modern, when DuPont de Nemours introduced the first toothbrush with nylon bristles, famously called Dr. West's Miracle Toothbrush. His innovation marked a huge leap forward in oral hygiene, and by the time WW2 came around, everyone was brushing like a pro. 4. Human birth control pills work on gorillas. That's right. The great apes handle birth control just fine since they're our closest relatives. However, it's not all smooth sailing for every species. While birth control is a hit with gorillas, some big cats and canines can have a rough time with hormonal implants and have been found to have a tendency to develop uterine infections and even tumors. It's a perfect example of how interconnected and occasionally complicated our biological world can be. 3. The origin of the piggy bank. Most of us have fond childhood memories associated with piggy banks. But have you ever wondered where they came from? Piggy banks have been around since the 14th and 15th centuries and were used in both Western Europe and Java in Southeast Asia. However, the concept of money boxes goes back even further, all the way to the 2nd century BC. The original piggy banks were simply clay jars. The clay was an inexpensive, orange-colored material known as PYGG. Over time, the word PYGG evolved into pig, and eventually, a clever potter decided to shape these jars into actual pig shapes. And that's how we ended up with the delightful piggy banks we still use today. 2. Air conditioning came from a New York printing press. The world changed for the better in 1902, thanks to an ingenious engineer named Willis Haviland Carrier. Carrier was working at a printing press in Brooklyn, New York, where high humidity was wreaking havoc on print quality. To tackle this, he devised a system that sent air through coils filled with cold water, cooling the air and removing moisture at the same time. His clever solution was the birth of modern air conditioning. By 1933, Carrier's invention had evolved into a complete air conditioning system that included a belt-driven condensing unit and mechanical controls, and became the gold standard in cooling systems in the world. 1. The first barcode was drawn in the sand on Miami Beach. Back in 1949, Joe Woodland wasn't just drawing doodles in the sand on Miami Beach. He was sketching out the very first barcode. Inspired by Morse code, he came up with a design of concentric circles made of thick and thin lines meant to be read from any angle. He got a patent for his idea in 1952, but technology took almost 20 years to catch up. With the rise of lasers and smaller computers, Woodland's vision finally became reality in the 1960s. By 1972, Kroger was experimenting with barcode scanners, using Woodland's original bullseye design. However, this was soon replaced by a more practical rectangular barcode, thanks to IBM's George Laura. Despite some initial fears, people worried barcodes were the mark of the beast or just a sneaky way for stores to rip them off. Barcodes eventually became a staple of shopping by the 1980s and transformed shopping forever. Who knew ordinary objects had such bizarre histories? The world is full of surprises. If you enjoyed these mind-blowing facts, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more amazing facts.